When newlyweds, Nathan and Sarah, moved from southern Ontario to Saskatchewan, they looked upon it as a big adventure. They knew many things would be different, and one of those things would be the weather. It gets cold in Saskatchewan, and the snow never melts in the wintertime. But it was a dry cold, and the lack of humidity meant it was possible to walk around outside comfortably, even at very low temperatures. Very low temperatures. And since they couldn't avoid winter, Nathan and Sarah decided to embrace it. One of their favorite activities was walking around the lake in the center of town. And that was what they were doing one Friday afternoon in early November, when they both had the day off work. It was Friday the 13th, actually. It was a mild day for winter, with the temperature hovering around -5 Celsius or 23 degrees Fahrenheit. Mild, but it was windy, the great plumes of steam from the powerhouse flowing like a swarm of angry ghosts out over the snow and ice covering the frozen lake. Still, the path around the lake was sheltered by shrubbery and by the skeletal trees, so the newlyweds felt quite comfortable as they took in the winter wonderland. And it was a wonderland. The path had been plowed for easy walking, with huge snowbanks, while the bushes and the trees were covered with a paste-like frost, the results of ice fog the previous evening. Everything was white. The path was white. The ground was white. The trees were white. Even the sky was white with reflected light. The only signs of color were the purplish bands of steam which swirled overhead, and Nathan's bright orange toque. They were strolling along the trail, hand in hand, basking in the beauty that surrounded them, and in each other's company. It was like they were the only human beings in a hushed, bewitching world. And then someone screamed. Nathan and Sarah looked around in astonishment, but they couldn't see anything except snow and each other. "Did you hear that?" Sarah asked anxiously. Nathan had been startled as well, but tried to brush it off. It must have been a bird or something, the cry of a bird. "I haven't seen any birds around. Have you?" Sarah said. Nathan shrugged. He didn't have an answer for that. They continued their walk, but hadn't gone far when the scream came again. That wasn't a bird," Sarah said nervously. Nathan was shaken as well. It came from behind us." They both looked back down the path. Nothing. And then it came again, and this time they caught a word. "Kill!" And without speaking, they both turned and hurried on down the trail. And as they scurried along, the words flowed and floated after them, becoming clearer. "You're all gonna die! Die! Everyone's gonna die! Gonna die! Gonna kill you all! Gonna tear your ears off! Your eyes! Gonna eat your guts! Your asshole! Your intestines! You're all gonna die! 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 Die!" As well as threats, the screams contained profanity and many racial slurs. Nathan took a quick glance over his shoulder, and in the distance, at the very edge of his vision, he could make out the figure of a man. The figure was too far away for him to see clearly, but he appeared to be striding forward rapidly and waving his arms in large, violent gestures, and he was coming their way. Had the man seen them? Was he coming for them? They had to get off the path. Fast. As he didn't want to alarm Sarah, he said, let's turn up ahead and go over to the road by the power station. But before they left the trail, he took another quick look. The strange man was much closer now. Much closer. In fact, he seemed to have covered half the distance between them in mere seconds. Nathan could see him now. A youngish man, 30s, with long dark hair and a beet red face, red with anger. He was wearing a long, dark gunslinger coat and was clomping along in scuffed work boots. But the strangest part of all was his posture and gestures. He walked, or stalked, forward, with his legs spread far apart, pelvis thrust forward, while constantly windmilling his arms. He looked demented and enraged. Had he seen them? Fortunately, Nathan and Sarah were hidden by a curve in the trail, which shielded them until they reached the powerhouse, where they turned a corner and watched the screaming man come lumbering past. He continued to make his vile and violent threats. He was screaming so loudly, Sarah thought he was trying to make the sky shudder, as she wondered why his voice didn't give out. They huddled there, shivering, but not from cold, while the screaming slowly, oh so slowly, subsided as the angry man drew further and further away. After 10 minutes had passed, Sarah said, "Do you think it's safe to go on now?" "I guess so." The pair slowly began to move forward and eventually returned to the path, where they still saw, off in the distance, the gesticulating figure. But no one else. It was like the three of them were alone in the park. Where the hell was everyone else? It was a nice enough day, not too cold. Surely somebody else should be in the park, somebody else on the trail, someone else to witness what was happening. Nope. The screaming lunatic continued along the trail as it passed in front of the legislative building, but no one appeared to see him, and nobody accosted him. "What's wrong with him?" Sarah said, stunned by what she had just witnessed. "Who knows?" Nathan answered, sharper than he had intended. The whole situation had freaked him out. Badly. "Probably some guy off his medication," he rationalized. In front of the legislative building, they saw a police car and went over to tell the officers inside about the man's strange behavior, although Nathan couldn't help thinking that they must have seen him, and chosen to do nothing. Maybe they thought he was rapping or singing. Could have been. Some rap songs have pretty violent lyrics, and Nathan was too far away to see if the weirdo was wearing earbuds. But Nathan didn't think he was practicing for a music video. The cops were polite and said they would keep an eye out for the man, but as he hadn't molested them or appeared to have bothered anyone else, he probably wasn't guilty of anything. Nathan and Sarah completed the rest of their walk without further incident, but they didn't enjoy it. "I'm not sure I want to come back here for a while," Sarah said pensively. "Oh, it'll be fine, honey," Nathan reassured her. "It was just some random kook, that's all. And next time, there's likely to be more people around." They regained their car without further incident. But as they were buckling up, they heard a click. The click of a switchblade and the screaming man, holding the knife, sat up in the back seat and screamed. And Sarah screamed. And Nathan screamed. Then silence. Dead silence. If this is your first visit to my channel, please consider subscribing. My name is Warren, and I write and tell original ghost stories and original horror stories featuring cryptids such as the Night Floaters, werewolves, and the black-eyed children. Stay hungry. Till midnight. Cheers.